It is Friday, March 18th in the NBA, and I'm back with my favorite plays. Yo, what's going on, everyone? This is Austin calling our shot. Boy, am I glad the NBA is back because yesterday I was reminded by one, why I don't bet on college basketball, and two, why I don't bet a lot of spreads and over-unders. As we saw our three plays fall, we saw Colorado State blew a 15-point lead, and the other two plays lost on the hook. So yeah, I'm gonna stay away from college until we get to the national championship game. Instead, I'll just watch the games with enjoyment, with no money on the line. But I should have expected that because we haven't bet on college all season long. But let's keep things rolling in the NBA, which we've had two straight profitable days so far. Yesterday, I had a couple leans. Marvin Bagley easily hit his line, and then Cade Cunningham did not play. But either way, if you are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. We're closing towards that 30,000 subscriber milestone. We really would appreciate it if you join the community. It's 100% free. We can't do without your support. Also, drop a like. It's almost the weekend. Let's enter the weekend making some money. My last note, shout out again to our COS All-Stars. We appreciate you all for supporting the channel. Our newest All-Stars, Joe Hoffman, Kendall Wilson, and Bundles B returning to the All-Star group. We appreciate you guys for supporting us. If you want to support us, click that join button on the channel or click the link in the description or the pinned comment. Without further ado, let's waste no more time. Let's hop into the best bet of the day. And we got two plays today. We'll talk about a couple leans. Wouldn't surprise me if we have a 1.5 unit play as the day goes on. We don't have a lot of lines this morning. So while I'll label this as the best bet, might not be the best bet by the end of the day, but we'll still track it as so. We're going with this guy, Nikola Jokic, over 37.5 points plus rebounds, -120 on DraftKings. Now, I do like his PRA line, but he hasn't notoriously had a ton of assists versus Cavaliers team. But I think the biggest edge is on these points plus rebounds. I would probably lean his over 24.5 points if I had to take an individual line. I believe his rebounds is 13.5 for plus value. Now, the Nuggets, like I said, are on the road in Cleveland today, taking on the Cavaliers. And since Jared Allen went down, well, the Cavaliers have been getting eaten alive by centers. We've seen them give up the 5th most points per game to centers and the 2nd most rebounds per game to opposing centers over the last 7 games. And the last 4 games have been without Allen. You look at what centers have done. See, I saw Goga Badatse. He had 15 points and 9 rebounds in only 18 minutes of action. Bam Adebayo, 30 points, 17 rebounds. Nikola Vucevic, 20 points and 14 rebounds. Ivica Zubac, 24 and 14. Joel Embiid, 35 and 17. You get the point. Centers have been crushing it. And while Mobley is a good defender, he's been getting abused on the boards by these guys. And if Mobley goes out, you see Kevin Love coming in. And while I love Kevin Love, not necessarily, no pun intended, I just don't see him as a great defender. And look, Jokic played them a lot earlier this season. Granted, it was back in October, the first week of the season. He had 24 points and 19 rebounds, hitting that over with 43 points plus rebounds. And Jokic did go over in his last game with 42 points plus rebounds against the Wizards within only 26 minutes of action. He should be well rested again tonight. Now, the Cavaliers should be able to keep this game close as well. I believe the spread is like 3 points, so it should be a relatively close game on the season. Jokic averaging 39.8 points plus rebounds, and over the last 5 games, he's up that a little bit and had averaged 27.6 points per game, 13.2 rebounds per game for 40.8 points plus rebounds a game. Now, the Nuggets, well, you might question a lot of teams' motivation. They have motivation to win these games because they're only 1.5 games above the Timberwolves. They're currently sitting as the 6th seed. And once you get to the 7th seed, you get to go into the play-in games. And while the Timberwolves are a super hot team, the Nuggets need these victories. So I think you'll see the Joker come out, play a pretty big role for the Nuggets roster. I think he's going to try to get that back-to-back MVP trophy. We obviously just saw what Joel Embiid did to this Cavaliers team on his birthday. I think Jokic will be next in store. So we'll take his over 37.5 points plus rebounds. Wouldn't surprise me if he has like a 20-20 game tonight. That's what the Jokic does. He's a man of the people. We'll take his over 37.5 points plus rebounds. Now let's move on to another play. We'll be the last play of the day but we'll definitely add 1 to 3 more plays. Just make sure you're checking that pinned comment down below. So we'll try to get them out once we have lines. We'll talk about 4 or 5 more leans that I have with no lines. We're going to Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm taking his over 15.5 points, -104 on FanDuel. He had a bingo card. I bet you Dinwiddie wasn't on it because Dinwiddie is not a guy we've really bet on, but we really should have been betting on him as of late. Now, since being traded to the Dallas Mavericks right before the All-Star break, it's been very good, and we'll just look at his numbers post-All-Star break. He's coming off a game-winning buzzer beater against a former team in the Brooklyn Nets, and his confidence has to be scoring at sky high. This guy's shooting the ball super well. More on that in a second. Now, since the All-Star break, Dinwiddie played in 10 games, averaged 20.3 points per game over those 10 games, hitting the over in 8 of them. Now, his 2 misses were one against the Knicks when he shot 3 for 8 and played only 28 minutes. The other miss was against the Lakers. He shot 5 for 11, but only played 24 minutes, well below what he's been playing recently. Now, I like this matchup because they're taking on the Sixers, and you'll see Luka likely guarded by Matisse Thybulle, and maybe he overwhelms him going into the paint. Maybe we look at maybe a Luka Doncic over in rebounds because that means he's guarding Matisse Thybulle and probably has a good rebounding game, but still, he's their best perimeter defender, and that will lead to Dinwiddie being guarded by Tyrese Maxey or James Harden on the perimeter, which honestly, he's fine by me. Now, we'll look at Harden and Maxey. I love them, but not necessarily known for their defense. And we'll see Thibault trying his best to stop Luka, maybe throwing some double teams his way. But in the last 2 games, we've seen Dinwiddie play a ton of minutes. And why is that? Because Reggie Bullock is out. He's played 37 and 33 minutes, stepping up to play a lot of those 30-plus minutes that Bullock normally gets. Scored 18 and 22 points the last 2 games. Now, the 18 was against a very elite Boston Celtics defense, and he still shot only 35% from the field, 55% from the free throw line, missing 4 free throws. Very unlike this guy. Now, Dinwiddie, he's played the Sixers 3 times this year, has gone under in 2 of the 3. We look at it, he scored 17, 7, and 14 points. The 7 points was a game he shot 5 times. I don't see him only shooting 5 times today. And the 14 was a game he did have a triple-double, but he did shoot 4 for 16 from the field. I believe he had Matisse Thybulle on him that game because he was the leading guy for the Wizards. Now, we look at it with no Bullock. He should be forced into more of a spot-up 3-point shooter role, which honestly is not bad because it's a guy knocking down his threes at a 43% clip since joining the Mavericks. He's shooting a lot more. I mean, we look at what he was doing with the Wizards, not shooting a great percentage. That's because he had to create their own offense for himself. Now he doesn't have to do that. He just sits in the corner, pops up, shoots some threes. Just going to knock them down at a good rate. Look, this number feels pretty good. If you want to go for a little bit more risky value, consider his 20-plus points value. It is currently plus 250 on FanDuel, but I'll just take the over 15.5 in this video. But I do think he has a chance of getting over that 20-plus hump. So we'll take Spencer Dinwiddie over 15.5 points. Now, let's interrupt this program to talk about a lean for spreads because everyone always asks for my spread lean. Maybe they fade it because I don't like betting spreads, but Grizzlies -5 would be my pick. They're taking on the Hawks, and honestly, I wouldn't even be mad if Ja Morant doesn't play today because once Ja Morant's out, this Grizzlies team they snap their defensive focus. They're super good on both sides of the ball, moving the ball, getting their teammates open shots, and so I think if Trey doesn't score 40 points, which I bet you Trey does score 40 after gave us 9 points after we took his over. But either way, this team is not winning if Trey's not putting up 40 piece. And I think you'll look at this Grizzlies team. They should be able to cover the spread against the Hawks. But it's just the lean. I don't really bet spreads. As you saw from yesterday, why I don't bet spreads. They're very sharp lines, especially this far into the season. So I'd rather go for some player props. So now let's talk about a couple plays I will be waiting on lines for. As I said before, check the pinned comment. Maybe I 100% guarantee you we will add at least 1 to maybe 3 plays. We'll definitely max out at 5 at the most today. But definitely check that pinned comment throughout the day as we get these lines. And let's talk about 2 guys. We'll go to the Nets game. Nets versus Blazers. I'm looking at Andre Drummond over in points plus rebounds or Kevin Durant over in points. Let's talk about them both. Now, the Nets are 13, 14-point favorites to the Blazers today. Honestly, Nicholas Claxton might be a good angle. You won't get his line until probably like 6 p.m. But either way, look at the last 2 games for Durant. We'll start with him. One game we went under with this Kyrie 60 piece. I think he shot 9 times. The other game was a game against the Mavericks, who they tripled, they quadrupled team. They put all 5 guys on Durant, made someone else shoot the ball, and even Durant mentioned that in his post-game conference, saying, "Why are you paying Dorian Finney-Smith all this money if you're going to rely on this defense?" Just kind of joking around, and he was right because they chucked everyone they could at him. He scored 23 points, but only on 20 field goal attempts. Not a great shooting day for Durant. Guarantee the Blazers, they won't be doing that. The Blazers are out there not to win. They're out there to have fun, and that's what we love to see. So they won't be chucking double teams at Durant. Should be able to do whatever he wants, but this game would have to remain close for Durant to get his over, which is likely going to be 28.5, 29.5 points. But I do think he can get that done. Now we look at Drummond. We tried to attack Portland with Mitchell Robinson on not yesterday, not Thursday, but Wednesday. Yeah, Mitchell Robinson took the night off. He was just trying to block shots. And while he had 12 points plus rebounds in the first half, he only had 1 in the second half. But I think Drummond will be much better over the last 7 games. Prior to that game with the Knicks, the Blazers had given up the 2nd most points per game to centers and the most rebounds per game to centers. And Robinson did lower those numbers, but I still think they'll hold true today. So I expect this line for Drummond to be around 18 to 20.5 points plus rebounds. And while his minutes can be sporadic, he might not need a lot of minutes versus the Blazers. He just had 31 points plus rebounds against a good matchup in the Dallas Mavericks, 18 and 10 versus the Knicks in 27 minutes a couple of nights ago. And he should have easily hit this against Orlando if he didn't get 3 fouls in the first, minute or 2 of the second half. I think he should be able to get it done before Steve Nash benches him. So Drummond, real possibility for an added play if his line's a little low. Now, let's move on to the Raptors versus Lakers game. Look at Pascal Siakam over in points. Now, I don't know what this line will be. A couple games ago it was 22.5, then maybe 23.5. If it's 23.5, probably you'll see it down below added because Siakam, he's been very good as of late, and we should have, he was really struggling post All-Star break, but he's absolutely snapped back into it and really looking good. Now, these teams, the Raptors and Lakers, just played a couple nights ago. Siakam, 27 points in that game, and the Lakers, let's be honest, this team stinks, and they have no answer for Siakam once he gets driving to the rim, especially if they're starting LeBron at center. Imagine they do that again tonight. And Siakam also on a roll, scoring 25-plus points in 4 straight games, attempting a good amount of shots without Anunoby. And like I said, he's kind of shaking off that post-All-Star break rust in March, and he's really cooking. So if this line's 23.5, bet you it's down below as an added play. If it goes up to 24.5, we'll see how we feel about it. 25.5, you got the wrong guy. I won't be taking that, but that's a little too high. Now let's move on to the last game I want to talk about. Well, actually, we got 2 more. Let's talk about the Spurs-Pelicans game. Looking all at CJ McCollum today. I do think Jonas Valanciunas has a good game, but CJ McCollum's the guy I want because this is a high-scoring game, high over-under against the Spurs, 237 points to be exact. And we'll look at McCollum's points, we'll look at his PRA, and then we'll look at his points plus assist line. I like all of them today as McCollum will be out there without Brandon Ingram. And the only real other guys that create shots for this Pelicans team, Devontae Graham and Jose Alvarado, both are questionable with an injury. While I do expect them both to play, this will be McCollum's show, and he'll be 1A, 1B, and 1C in terms of this offense. And look, he played against the Spurs team earlier as the New Orleans Pelicans. One of his first couple games with the Pelicans, 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. That'll crush whatever line he has today. So I think he has a pretty good game. Spurs don't play a ton of defense. They're not going to double team him. Don't see that happen. And they'll probably put Devin Vassell or someone on him. Should have a pretty good game as long as his lines aren't too juiced up. So when we look at him, I think he has a good chance to clear whatever lines he gets today. But I'll probably have listed on the screen points, PRA, and points plus assists. I think all 3 are pretty good bets today. Now, let's move on to the last game I want to talk about, Jazz versus Clippers. I'm eyeing Rudy Gobert's over in points, plus rebounds, or an over in rebounds. Now, if they put this line at 12.5 again, it'll be a 1.5 to 2 unit play. If they make his rebounds 12.5, that's way too low for Rudy Gobert, especially in a good matchup against the Clippers. But Donovan Mitchell, great game for us on Wednesday, and then he hurt his calf, and he's been out. He's going to be out today. So is Bojan Bogdanovic. So we're going to see the Jordan Clarkson and Mike Conley show. And I won't lie to you, I think Donovan Mitchell has something against Rudy Gobert because that man does not pass it to him. Rudy Gobert could be standing wide open down below with no one within 500 yards of him, and he still won't get the ball with Donovan Mitchell. But we'll look at Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson. Both a little bit more willing to pass to the rock. Now, with the Clippers, been getting abused by centers all season long. Now, like I said, if Gobert's rebound line is 12.5 again, it will be a 1.5 unit play. I can guarantee you that. If they move it up to 13.5, I still like that. Or we'll look at his points plus rebounds look because I think he'll have to shoot a little bit more. The Jazz will need some other people to score. And while Rudy Gobert's not the guy that's going to post and toast you, they still will at least get some more looks, maybe 10 to 13 field goal attempts. He's going to shoot 60, 70% of the time and make those shots. Now, either way, we'll look at both of those. Definitely check that pin comment down below for any added plays throughout the day. We'll obviously add at least 1, maybe up to 3. Don't want to go over 5. But either way, right now, our only 2 plays, Nikola Jokic, the reigning MVP, over 37.5 points plus rebounds, and Spencer Dinwiddie over 15.5 points. Really love those 2 bets. Drop your best plays down below. I'll put my added plays in the pinned comment. Curious what you guys are playing. Maybe I'll tail a couple of you. You guys have really handed out some winners all season long in the NBA. But either way, those are my 2 official plays. I'll see you guys back again tomorrow for some more plays. Let's enter the weekend making some money. Become a COS All-Star if you want. Check out the podcast too, and go download it too. We appreciate all your support. Let's get after it today. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.